What if I told you that a single event could turn an entire kingdom upside down, overthrow a king, and change the course of history forever? The French Revolution wasn't just about guillotines and angry mobs, it was a battle for power, freedom, and the future of a nation. But how did bread riots lead to the fall of a monarchy? And why did the revolution spiral into chaos? Stick around, because this story is wilder than you think. The French Revolution, which lasted from 1789 to 1799, was a period of profound political and societal upheaval in France. It had far-reaching consequences, not only within France but also across Europe and the world. The revolution was driven by a complex interplay of social, economic, political, and intellectual forces. This essay delves into the causes, major events, and consequences of the French Revolution, providing a detailed account of this transformative period. One of the primary causes of the French Revolution was the deep social inequality that characterized French society. The Ancien Regime, the political and social system in place before the revolution, was marked by a rigid hierarchical structure. Society was divided into three estates: the clergy, first estate, the nobility, second estate, and the commoners, third estate. The first estate consisted of the clergy, who enjoyed numerous privileges, including exemption from many taxes. They owned a significant portion of land and were influential in both spiritual and temporal matters. The second estate comprised the nobility, who also enjoyed privileges such as tax exemptions and held significant political power. They owned large estates and lived in opulence. In stark contrast, the third estate encompassed the vast majority of the population, including peasants, urban workers, and the burgeoning bourgeoisie, middle class. This estate was burdened with heavy taxes and had little political power. The commoners were frustrated by their lack of representation and the injustices they faced, fueling resentment and a desire for change. Economic factors also played a crucial role in precipitating the French Revolution. By the late 18th century, France was experiencing severe financial difficulties. The country had accumulated a massive debt due to costly wars, including the 7 Years' War and support for the American Revolution. Additionally, the extravagant spending of the monarchy, exemplified by the opulent lifestyle of King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette, exacerbated the financial crisis. The tax system was highly inefficient and regressive, placing a disproportionate burden on the third estate. Efforts to reform the tax system were met with resistance from the privileged classes, leading to a stalemate. Meanwhile, economic hardship worsened due to poor harvests, which resulted in food shortages and rising bread prices. These conditions led to widespread discontent and unrest among the populace. The political structure of France also contributed to the revolution. The absolute monarchy under King Louis XVI was increasingly seen as ineffective and out of touch with the needs of the people. The king's indecisiveness and inability to implement necessary reforms eroded his authority. The Estates General, an assembly representing the three estates, had not been convened since 1614, further highlighting the lack of political representation for the commoners. The Enlightenment, an intellectual movement that emphasized reason, individual rights, and the principles of liberty and equality, had a profound impact on the French Revolution. Philosophers such as Voltaire, Rousseau, and Montesquieu criticized the existing social and political order, advocating for a more just and equitable society. Their ideas resonated with the educated bourgeoisie and other disaffected groups, providing an ideological foundation for revolutionary change. In response to the financial crisis, King Louis XVI called for the Estates General to convene in May 1789. This assembly had not met for over a century and was intended to address the fiscal issues facing the nation. However, it quickly became apparent that the traditional structure of the Estates General, which gave each estate one vote, was inherently unfair to the Third Estate, which represented the vast majority of the population. Frustrated by their lack of influence, the representatives of the Third Estate declared themselves the National Assembly on June 17, 1789, vowing to draft a new constitution for France. This bold move was met with resistance from the king, who attempted to lock them out of their meeting hall. Undeterred, the National Assembly reconvened on a nearby tennis court, where they took the tennis court oath, pledging not to disband until they had established a new constitution. In response to the widespread unrest, the National Assembly took decisive action. On August 4, 1789, they abolished feudal privileges and the remnants of the feudal system. This landmark decision aimed to address the grievances of the peasants and to dismantle the old social hierarchy. Shortly thereafter, the National Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen on August 26, 1789. This document, influenced by Enlightenment principles, proclaimed the equality of all men, the sovereignty of the people, and the protection of individual rights such as liberty, property, and security. It became a cornerstone of the revolution, embodying its core ideals and inspiring future democratic movements. By 1792, the revolution had entered a more radical phase. The growing influence of the Jacobins, a radical political faction led by figures such as Maximilien Robespierre, pushed the revolution towards greater social and political transformation. The Jacobins advocated for the establishment of a republic and the abolition of the monarchy. On August 10, 1792, the insurrectionary Commune of Paris stormed the Tuileries Palace, leading to the arrest of King Louis XVI and the suspension of the monarchy. In September 1792, the National Convention was established, and France was declared a republic. The radicalization of the revolution culminated in the execution of King Louis XVI on January 21, 1793, and Queen Marie Antoinette later that year. The period known as the Reign of Terror ensued, characterized by extreme measures to protect the revolution from perceived internal and external enemies. The Committee of Public Safety, led by Robespierre, wielded significant power and employed draconian measures to suppress counter-revolutionary activities. Thousands were executed by the guillotine, including political rivals and suspected traitors. The Reign of Terror, while intended to defend the revolution, ultimately led to widespread fear and disillusionment. The excesses of the Reign of Terror led to a backlash known as the Thermidorian reaction. In July 1794, Thermidor in the French Revolutionary calendar, Robespierre and his allies were arrested and executed, marking the end of the radical phase of the revolution. The National Convention subsequently adopted a more moderate approach, seeking to stabilize the political situation. In 1795, a new constitution established the Directory, a 5-member executive body. The Directory faced numerous challenges, including economic instability, political corruption, and ongoing wars with European powers. Despite its efforts to consolidate power, the Directory struggled to maintain control, and dissatisfaction with its rule grew. The French Revolution brought about profound political and social changes. It abolished the feudal system, eliminated aristocratic privileges, and established the principles of equality and popular sovereignty. The revolution also led to the rise of secularism, reducing the influence of the Catholic Church in public affairs. The revolution inspired the development of modern democratic institutions and ideas. The French Revolution was more than just the fall of a monarchy, it was a turning point that reshaped France and influenced the world. It shattered centuries-old hierarchies, introduced the radical idea that power should belong to the people, and set the stage for modern democracy. But it also showed the dangers of revolution spinning out of control, as violence and fear took over. In the end, the revolution didn't just change France, it sent shockwaves across Europe, inspiring uprisings and shaping the course of history. And while the monarchy fell, the struggle for freedom, equality, and justice didn't end, it was only the beginning.